House of Crypto.
Okay, House of Crypto.
Yeah, Peter. I don't know his last name, but he's a pretty big YouTuber, and I just immediately clung on to him from the get go and liked what he was talking about. And it seems everything I learned outside of him was like the complete opposite, and the complete opposite is what shot me in the foot.
And what's it called? House of Crypto?
Yeah, the House of Crypto.
The House of Crypto. So how long you been over there?
Oh gosh, at least 6 months.
Okay, that's not bad. That's a good time.
Yeah, but they're more of like a, they're not constantly posting trades. They're more of a macro, like, hey, this is what's going on. I mean, every now and then there's a Telegram group that posts a trade. I mean, I'm watching a trade. I got in on this big dip on Bitcoin at 75,000. So
okay, and that's
still riding it.
Is that the he's kind of like he's got like an orange house behind him?
Yeah, that's exactly him.
Yeah. So and then you said the Renegades. Yep. So how long have you been in the Renegades?
No, the Crypto Crusaders.
The Crusaders.
That's
the Crusaders.
Levi.
Levi.
People have mixed reviews on him. So Crypto Crusaders.
Okay, I think I've heard of Levi before. So when you trade, just the basics. So when you're in there trading, so here's what we do, right? So I have a course here that is it's Trading 102. Okay, so a lot of times when you follow somebody, they have a very specific way that they look at charting, right? And charting and trading are two different things. Right, so a lot of times when people find people, they're charters. So they're normally using simple concepts, whether, the basic would be support and resistance, Fibonacci's, and then Elliott waves, right? And what they do there, based on the time frames, they're looking at, they break down the pullbacks, and then you have moving averages and so forth. So it's kind of like all the same thing, all depending on how the person wants or what they find that they like, to use a little bit more. And then they kind of like, it's all like, the weird thing is over the last, 5 years, as more people became charters in this industry here, I would just watch them and I'm like, they're all regurgitating the same type things, right? Their very first thing everyone will tell you to learn is a candle pattern. Or a candle, and then they'll say, okay, now you got to learn patterns, right? And it's like everyone says the same thing, and then I go back and I look and I go, weirdly, even though there's another 100,000 people showing people how to do this, there's still a 95% loss rate for people that trade.
Right, the market makers know that everyone is
using
talking
those
about
patterns.
what you just talked about.
Right. So we teach one fundamental, and that's volume is king, right? And what we did was, as you go through, as you develop, trading, styles, strategies, and so forth, or trades, we call them, you use what you like, right? So what I did was, after putting together 3 different courses, this year, what I'm doing is I completely just said, you know what, instead of fighting, because I know what the problem is. It's the mentality. Like no one understands you have to have a mentality of a trader, and that's what no one teaches.
Yep.
So I'm like, you know what? I'm gonna do a different course. It's gonna be Trading 102. It's not gonna be anything about teaching support, resistance, all that. What I want to know is how or what the people are doing, right? So how they're trading.
What's your behavior?
Yeah, what's your behavior? So how do you trade, right? So if I was like, hey, when you make a trade, right? So for instance, for you, so when you are looking to get into a trade, how do you find a trade that you would get into?
So I'd say 2 things: looking at the big picture, and are we going up or are we going down?
Mm-hmm.
And then one thing, I spent hours on this yesterday, actually.
Perfect.
And I get them mixed up.
Mm-hmm.
Which RSI has the blue and orange lines?
So
is that the normal or the stochastic?
So that would be so this RSI. This is the stochastic, the orange and blue. That should be the one you're
Right.
talking about, right?
So I look at yesterday I was looking at the one that's the other one, which is just I think that's the normal RSI.
Yeah.
Or do
So
we have them backwards?
yeah. Let me see. So then this one down
The
here.
the one with the purple line, that on the when it goes above the 70 and below the 30, it shows.
So the way to tell the difference is when you look at the normal RSI, the
Yeah,
purple,
that one.
yeah, the purple line is sporadic, right? You see how it like
Right.
changes direction like crazy. When you look at a
Yeah.
stochastic RSI, it's cleaner. It doesn't have
Mhm.
sporadic movement. It has very smooth movement. So you were looking at the regular RSI.
Right, and to
Okay.
me, in my head, unless my head is completely backwards, it's a lot easy for me to understand. If that's I downloaded the 15-minute chart, the hour chart, the 4-hour chart, and the daily chart yesterday on XRP for as far back as I could go, and basically just seeing, okay, when did this thing top and when did it bottom? I took all four as CSV files and plugged them into Grok, and Grok spat out exactly where, and I did my own Excel thing and figured out where the tops were, and I took the average of those tops, and it's just a way for me to personally digest data.
I
So
like
yeah,
it. Okay, so
but so
I
you
like this
you go ahead.
because we're at a moment in time where you guys have tools, right? Because I've been trading for 15 years. So
Yeah,
over the last 5 years, getting into the crypto side after that huge pandemic move where we made a killing on AMC, GameStop, and I seen the rush of young people that were getting into trading because it was just Robinhood opened up futures trading to people who weren't qualified to trade, and I just seen an influctuation of brains come into the space in this youth, and their research was so in depth, like it made Wall Street look terrible because these kids were just their hunger for knowledge was just unfucking matched. It was phenomenal. Like I was sitting back going, man, these guys could open hedge funds, right? So now as we move forward, 5 years go by, we have crypto, and we moved into crypto, doing crypto trading and all those things. We get to the point where seeing that stuff happen, and just kind of like just seeing the evolution of an asset that has no P&L, no CEO, no purpose, but yet still seeing the more of the angel investing side be angel investors to be normal people versus venture capitalists, right? Which is really what crypto is. And then seeing how it was all traded was just amazing. And now we have AI. So when you started your conversation, like, yeah, I went in, I put it in Grok, see what it came out, and then I did my own analysis. I'm just like, it's so amazing to me, like where we're at today, because that's what I mean. Like,
yeah,
there's so much tools, not just tools, but leverage, and so many things that we can do. But the average is still 8% of the people win, 90% of the people lose. So
right.
when you did the averages, because this is great. So you broke it down, went into the averages, and it spat out the overall tops and bottoms of XRP since what time frame did you do?
I did 15-minute, 1 hour, 4 hour, and 1 day. So essentially, if you're looking at the chart right in front of you, the purple lines, every data point that it's above your 70 line, it gave the CSV file gave me a number for that, and I used AI, I used Grok, I used it as a tool, and then I did my own more in depth, so I could actually visualize the numbers. But basically, what time frame are you on right there?
I'm on the 1 minute. So let's say, what'd you use? The 15
Okay.
or what's the highest one you use? 4 hour?
1 day.
1 day? Perfect.
So zoom out. Yeah. So you zoom out and you basically see, okay, how many how many data points, how many ticks are over the 70 level. And now you could refine it and say how many over the 80 level. And if you really wanted to get into some snipes, the 90 level, it even like barely touches 100.
You're talking about the
you're
line,
not trying
right?
to call.
You're talking about up here, these 70 lines?
Yeah.
Okay.
So everything above that is overbought, and so to me, if you're gonna short,
Mm-hmm.
that's the spot to do it. If you're gonna long, when you're down there in the red. So
Mm-hmm.
I took an average of all those red spots and said, okay, this now I can't predict. I'm not trying to predict anything, but that's basically if I opened a position somewhere in the red and closed somewhere in the long over the period of time that I had the data for, what would be my average P&L based off 3x trades or 7x. And I'm still very green, as you can probably hear, but
Well, at least
you started somewhere
you're
too.
thinking.
So
Yeah, you're thinking. Yeah, don't. I
right.
mean, I think the thing about crypto is like, there's a lot of some. I used to go live all the time. I used to live on live, and then, nowadays I don't really go as live as much. But then, I do, scroll through, and I see a lot of people who are talking crypto, and the chats are very aggressive, and they've always been that way. I mean, they've always been aggressive. But I think the new people in there, it's weird to them that there's so many like trolls inside the chat that it's like they realize that everything is always a battle, and I just laugh because 2020, 21, and really in 2021 the trolls were like massive, right? So we've been dealing with them for so long. I love a troll like me. I thought they were great. So but when I listen to new people, it's like they're very sensitive to like how people respond to their or how they think, right? Because someone will be just on there going, yeah, this is what I was thinking, or I'll see somebody saying, hey, this is what I've learned, and then someone will come on there and be like, and they'll be like, oh my god, I'm blocking you, and it's like so funny to me because it's like, man, that's TikTok. But so that I could tell right there when you're like, well, I'm still green. I'm it's like listen, you're in crypto. Everyone has an opinion, most of the people, so you got to kind of realize like, we invest. If you understood crypto, it wouldn't be that when someone pops on is like, oh, you guys are buying something that has but do you understand that people buy lotto tickets every day?
Right.
Like
right.
This is a little bit different.
There's nothing to a lotto ticket.
Yeah, this is basically possibilities here, right? I mean, it's just you're angel investing into a process here where at least the technology has some type of merit. It's not like we're just out here waiting for some balls to come out of a chute, right? There's a lot of opportunity here based on just pure technology. You can't deny the technology, and that's kind of where the people who are hecklers, they don't understand. You know what I'm saying? Like they'll turn around and be like, "Oh, just invest in stocks." Be like, "Man, what do you think happened in the pandemic? I mean, everyone lost everything. Stocks have fallen as well. I mean, McDonald's was at one point went down to like $5, right? But see, they don't remember that
oil ticked down to like a cent.
Yeah,
I don't know if you can see that.
Well, a lot of people don't know this because they're just, trolls are just uneducated people who voice an opinion that nobody needs to hear, right? So it's just kind of
like, and a lot of people listen to the news too.
Yeah, it's funny to me that people are so sensitive to the trolls. But yeah, I mean we're in crypto, man. I mean we're way ahead of everybody else, and at the end of the day, it really doesn't matter what everyone else is kind of like coming up with. It's a different type of thing. So what I'm looking at is I'm just going to kind of like, I'm taking the chart here and I'm doing the daily, right? And so what you're doing is you're doing a concept And what I kind of looked at here was I was looking for when the RSI broke above the 30 line, and that's the yellow. And then when it got to a high point, above the 60, that's kind of when it comes down. And that's kind of what I was looking at, like um, building a kind of like what you were looking at, like if you were making these trades, what would your average be, et cetera, et cetera. So what I'm going to do here
Right.
is just take a quick peek at like what that actually would turn out to be. Um,
Yeah, let me try to. I can pull it up. Maybe.
because this is just so people understand this is trade development, right? There's
Right.
nothing too crazy.
Yeah,
Just
yeah.
trying to come up with. So just what I'm teaching now is will literally, like, at the end of the day when I'm done with this, it'll go down as the greatest course ever taught, because this is something that no one ever does. And after listening to people for 5 years of nothing but students trading and other people trading, I realize it's not the systems, it's the people. And now I
Mm-hmm.
understand, like, now that I look at this, I'm like, oh, this is trader mentality. It's not the systems that fail, it's the person, right? Systems don't fail, people do. And now what I'm doing is I'm looking at where this education 102 is completely different than what everyone else is doing. I'm not going to teach you any. I'm not going to give you a trade or show you a trade, or like, I'm going to ask you how you trade. Then you're going to
Sure.
explain to me your how you see things happen, and then after that happens, at the end of the day, we turn around and look and say, okay, here's your strategy, right? Because there's three parts of a trade, right? First thing is the three sections, right? Strategy, system, right? Strategy number one is the trade. What's my trade? What trade do I do, right? And how do I recognize this trade is valuable? In this scenario, the trade would be this. It would be a daily chart breaking above the RSI, breaking above the 30, and then selling. And when it starts to go down from, let's say, we're going to make this the 60 line, right? So now that's the simple concept. So now we can move our things and say, okay, when it bounces, we go here. When it sells, we go here. When it bounces, we go here, and then we sell when it goes here, right? So now that's the simple concept, right? And we can see here as we go across, it's a very, very simple thing. So this is the strategy of the trade, right? So which just simply means the steps of how I'm going to find my trade. So how this trade would actually work for you, your strategy would be that, okay, when the RSI breaks the 30, I enter a trade. That represented by the yellow. When it gets to the
Breaks
60,
down through the 30.
yeah, or breaks up, right? Like kind of going. Oh, you want to enter after it goes down. So you would basically,
Correct.
all right. So you're going to enter here, okay, and then we're going to sell when we get back to the 60. All right, so that'll be there. So this is just, and you're probably going to sell a little different, but that'll kind of be it. So then what happens is you don't buy again until it breaks through the 30. Okay, which would be this one here. All right, so we can get rid of these here.
Right. So what I was sifting through is solely like all the chop in between 70 and 30 I didn't care about. All I care about is when it's red and when it's green. And I can't join the chat on my computer and my phone, but on the daily, there were 4 trades that I found. Only 4 trades since November of 2022, where it broke below the 30, and I would have been able to sell above the 70.
Mm-hmm.
And then I compared that to the 60-minute and the 15-minute. I didn't do the 4-hour, but the 60-minute came out with 12 trades over the course of 117 days. One day was the course of 1,184 days. The 15-minute was 10 trades across 27 days. So trading on the 15-minute chart, I know everyone's got different time frames that they like, but that's just what I found was 10 trades entered and exited using solely that strategy. And after 27 days, if I were to use 1,000 margin at 3x leverage, that's a P&L of 1,019. So it's like
So 10x.
100%.
Right.
10x, yeah.
All right. So
No, two. Is that 10x or 2x? I started. Yeah. No, I'm
Yeah,
sorry.
you'd be higher.
10 trades over the course of 27 days. My P&L after 27 days, we'll just use dollars. No, USDT, 1,019 USDT. And that's only P&L. And that doesn't include like compounding or anything, because you could essentially just take all that and be compounding it in your further trades. And in my head, theoretically, I know that would work because I see it on a chart, and at very low leverage, the liquidation price opportunity is very minuscule if you don't consider 10-10.
Right, because you're only doing 3%.
Right, and I know that would work, but emotionally, that's where we get into emotions. And I've gotten much better after a year of knowing. If I knew then what I know now, boy, I wouldn't have lost what I lost. But I'll get it back.
So, just on the concept side, so your concept was $1,000 bag.
Correct.
At 3% leverage.
Well, that's say your bag is $10,000,
okay.
And that's just you're just using 10% for that trade.
Oh, right. Yeah, but the bag is the trade.
Yeah.
So $1,000 trade.
Yeah.
3% leverage, and then at the end of it, you ended up with what, $1,000? So the profit would have been $1,000.
The profit after those 10 trades, the profit is $1,000.
So 100. So 100.
100 each trade. You're averaging $100.
So 10%
is your P&L. Yeah. Yes.
So theoretically, if you're doing a 3x leverage, then you're getting a. All right. So how would that work? $300. So you would have to. So that means we're getting. All right. So we're getting 10% of the 1,000.
Right.
So that means
that.
Yeah. So we'd be looking at a 3% move.
Let's see. First trade is buy average of 147, sell at 150 because it doesn't move much.
Yeah, so it's about a 3% move. Because you got a 3%. Yeah, so your 3% move would be normally if you have, let's say you had $1,000 and you had a 3% move, right? Your leverage is 3x, so that 3% would be multiplied by 3, so that would be 10%.
So that's $53.
Right, that's your $100, and then after those 10 trades, that you've made $100 a trade, and you did it 10 times, which would have gave you the $1,000 at the end of the 10 trades, which essentially would be equal to your 100x.
Right. Okay. And after a year, if you do that for 12 months, you've got $13,500.
So because you calculated how many trades in a year?
Essentially, in a year, if you go with that math and that pattern of what I found, it's 133 trades.
Okay, so 133 trades, which we're averaging $100. So we make about 13,000.
Correct.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay,
Yep.
so that essentially, just so you can kind of like break it down, that is what, you know, so for us, right, so what we have here is a strategy, okay?
Mm-hmm.
Now, the second part of your strategy is, the first strategy is the strategy of a trade, which we just went over. The second strategy is the entry of the trade, which is something you have to develop. But you might have it, you might have it, you might have a way that you enter. And then the third thing is called a system, okay? And this is where a lot of people get confused because they think a strategy is a system, right? Which it isn't. There are three parts to trading mentality. There is the strategy of a trade, the strategy of the entry, and the system. The system is the key. The system is what makes and breaks you. It is the execution of the entire process, right? And this is where people fail, and this is why 90% of people fail, is because they don't understand system, right? So your system is $1,000 per trade, 3% leverage, and profit at 10%, or whatever it runs. You were just taking the average of what happened, and your job is to make sure that every time this scenario happens on the daily, where the RSI breaks below 30, you would then go to enter a trade. And at this point, your philosophy is that since it's breaking below the 30, it is pretty much almost exhausted. 5% multiplier 3, which is a 9, 12, or 15% move, which would give us an average of $100 to $130, right? And so, like, we could look at that and say, okay, we can take that average and just say, let's just take $120 times average, 130 trades a year. We can say that this philosophy will make $15,000 a year.
Yeah.
All right. So now the system is your 3x leverage, $1,000 a bag. Your target is 9 to 12%. That's your system.
You see red below 30 since November of 22.
Yeah. I mean, there's one.
And I mean, this is precision data. It's not.
Yeah.
Visual. Yeah.
So here, what I'm doing is just as soon as it breaks below the 30, I'm considering that an option. Yeah. So that's what the yellow are, right? So this is basically as soon as it breaks below the 30, this would be what we would be considered a situation that we would say, okay, this is our trade. And then the next move here is the orange. This is where we got to where it actually triggers above the 60, right? So that's kind of like that area there, right? So these are so these are the basic side. So what I'm going to do here,
you did 60 or 70? Because
I only did 60. Come back around, and we'll go light purple here. I'm going to do a few of these. There we go. This will be here, and then this will be dark purple. And this will just give us some boxes to kind of look at. There's not too many of them. I don't need too many. Okay. And we'll do one more set. Not too bad. All right. So now this is kind of what we look like. Now we can slide to the chart here. All right, and this will give us more where we can expand and kind of see where everything is popping out. All right. And then we can just measure these real quick. All right, so we're the long position, entry here, upward movement, about 33%. That's not too shabby. So based on here, let's just say the 30, like we were breaking down, comes off this arrow here. And all depends on how you enter this trade. That's why I say entries are pretty good. It's going to put you, a little bit higher here. We'll just take the bottom of that middle section there. And then the possibility of this trade, where it hits is about 4% right there. And then probability of it was actually 50%. So when it does break to 70, that's where we're seeing that. And that's where, remember, we were talking about, like, the move has to be an average of 3 to 5%. So you're getting a 5% move here. So that kind of like just out. So that's not too shabby. And then, same thing here. It depends, even if you're in a bad entry point, which some of these are, your stop loss, like I said, is you're only using 3%. So some of this is a little bit different, but yeah, I mean, these on average, if you can get your entry point down, you can get a 5% move here.
Right, and what I'm curious is even, if I go through all this data, how many times does it break down through 30? How many times does it break down through 15? How many times? What's the absolute lowest in the last year it's broken down? Other than I don't think 1010 was. Let's see what that was. That wick, our purple line only went down to 25.
So
but
now
there are definitely other times, like in February, it went down to 17.
Right. Now this is this indicator right here. This is our indicator that we developed, right? This is a moon indicator. It's basically built around the only thing that matters, which is money, right? So we like momentum trades. We like sentiment trades. We like all that. So what this does is, unlike the RSI and other things, this actually tracks the money flow. So we use a line that sits at around 15, right? So if I go over here, you see that that's set up, and if I draw my line here, let's say my 15 line, which is about here, right? So this is the line that we consider exhaustion, right? So when we see something break or hit this line here, this is where we would look at and say, okay, the move up, and you see how like it has this green moon here, right? So once we see a green moon come into play there, this is kind of like the exhaustion move, right? So every indicator has they call it lag, but what it actually is it prints at the next candle, right? So it's not lag, it just depends on how you can see them, but this moon would print here, right? So I'm going to turn this, and we're just going to go blue, okay? So what that is that once my money hit that 15 line, the next time it went blue is where I would consider an entry, like when green moon is where I would consider an entry. And then what we would do here is on the second move, which is here, which is the way we teach a 1, 2, 3 move. I'm going to make this gray. That's where we would sell, right? So if I go down here, and kind of like in the same scenario, that once it hits that 15, it comes up the next moon, we would consider that an entry. and then the second move down, we would consider that the close. And it's almost like if you look at this, you see how that blue line starts to come down? Like you see on this, almost like the RSI line? Yeah. That's where we'd be looking for closing sides. Let's see. I'll just do two more of these. All right, so below the 30, we get a green moon. This is us. This would be an entry. Then we come down, and as soon as we get a double above, we get that blue moon over there. Its move down would be here. Okay, so now if I take these and I go look at, let's say this is the strategy that we're looking at, right? So now when I put these up here and I go to my chart, now I'm trading from this area to this area. And now I'm trading this area to this area. This area to this area. And then this area to this area here. Okay. All right, so now when I look at here, these particular trades and these zones here, depending on where you get into, we'll take the higher side of it. These particular trades, so this is a 13%. This trade we'll use a higher entry, so kind of like the higher part of that cluster. So you don't ever want to, when you're doing a trade development, you don't want to take the best entries. You want to take worst case scenarios and then measure that out so that you have actual real data. So this particular trade here, so we went 14, there's a 26 option. And then here, let's see. So we'll hit this top piece.
That's a good one.
Yeah, this one runs for 43%, right? So, yeah, so basically just using the money side of it, right? On that basically strategy. So a couple of things I have to do here. I won't get too far into like the system of it, but now we know that this particular trade averages 20 to 40%, right? So if we were doing a 3x on this, that would be 20 times 3. So we could average 60% here. So cut that in half and we'll say worst case scenario, I have to make some adjustments, develop this properly, take some time and actually do it. I could get this to where I know that I'm going to average 30% on this trade, right? And then we have where, let's see here. So this basically, what was the time frame here? So this started 7th of 2022, and yeah, so a year, 12 months. So in 12 months, we got 1, 2, 3, 4 trades, right? So probably get 6, right. We'll keep it at 4. So now I'm getting 30% of my trade, and I'm getting 4 per year, right?
That sounds very conservative.
Yeah. Very conservative, very easy to do. So the system I would develop here would be something as far as like, I would probably, this particular system, when we develop something like this, it's normally a $10,000 trade, right? So we'll say 5,000, and we're collecting 30% of that. So basically,
I'm gonna plug 5,000 into my margin and see what that is at 3x.
So it should be about 1,500. I would say, right? So what are you doing?
So if we're doing because I have four trades for the daily. The average buy and the average, our numbers might be different, but You're saying you're using 5,000 margin?
Yeah, so 5,000, 30% of that.
Oh, okay. So 30% of that is
Should be 1,500, right?
Yeah, times I come up with 19,000 P&L in the last trade, because that last trade, you have quite a wide range of.
Oh yeah, yeah. So what I'm looking at is like worst case scenario, right? If we were targeting,
okay.
let's say that we were just targeting that, 30%
Yeah, because I'm just
range.
taking average. You're taking targets.
Yeah, 30%. So that's a $6,000, year, right?
Yeah.
So, and on your side, I think you had like 113 trades.
Well, that was for the 15-minute time
Yeah.
frame.
Yeah.
The 1 day time frame going back to November 9th of 2022, I found 4 trades.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah. So we're in the same boat.
Right.
Right. So, and then you would be still hitting your 3% move, 3x, or 10 to 12 to 15%.
These changes, because they're like there were in the daily. There's a lot of wide moves.
Mm-hmm.
So that skews the data. Like November 2024, when we went 483% in the matter of what, a week.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, I think that adds the most. I think that adds. It says P&L. If you were to buy at this average is 46 cents, and then it pumped all the way to 206 at $1,500 margin. That's a $15,000 P&L at 3x.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So what I was showing you is like, when you're developing this, right? And this is, we actually have trades here that we do. So this is what we call like a master trade, right? This is where teaching people who have $5,000, $10,000, sometimes 50 to 100,000, the points of like how to get a $5,000 to $10,000 trade in these positions, and then their targets on average when we do the 40, 60. I mean, we're going to get on average, if we do our 4 trades, at the end of the day, you'll have the minimum trade will be 30, the maximum will be 60. You're going to meet somewhere around 40%, right? So if you have, a $10,000 bag, you're walking out of there at, say 3,600, 4 times, right? So that's kind of like, the gist of like simplicity, and say, okay, here's your return, right, which is 150% on their bag, right? So most people, if you're stocks or whatever, hedge funds, I mean, they make 7 to 12%. If you do self trading, if you make 20% a year, you did really good.
Yep.
So here you're able to get, worst case scenario, you can double your bag, right, or you can make 150%, right? So that's where, using something that's, when you dive into the data and there's so much out there, there's so much clutter basically inside of the, I should have shorted this the whole time. There's so much clutter inside of the system.
Should have shorted what, Bitcoin?
All of it.
No.
Yeah, we were.
Yeah.
I mean, we were calling the short up here. Like I shorted it here, but I was in a class, so I closed it here. But I should have just let it go, because I know this is a daily.
I saw that.
Yeah, a daily.
I saw the
and a
one that you wrote last night.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, you got stopped out. But
yeah. But so this is like we were just trading the basics, and I was like, simple, quick moves. So we picked up just on the longs. We picked up like 1,700 on the long, and then I did a quick short for like 150, and I got out. But I was like,
nice.
This is a daily. We're running into the 4-hour exhaustion and the daily exhaustion. So this pullback.
Right, it can't go much further. So we thought.
Well, there's only so much money. You have to be a realist, right?
Yeah.
That's where people make the mistake is they don't realize that this doesn't make money. Like its only value is someone bought it, and that's why when it reaches a certain point, they sell it. And when do they sell it is based on when the market makers start selling and create the movement, and then paper hands happen. And then people have limit orders set because retail people don't understand how to trade, and then it bounces, which is coming up pretty soon. And then on that second bounce, the people who didn't sell at the peak will realize they need to get out, and then they'll sell, and then you'll see a sharper drop. So
Yep.
that's just trader mentality. That's just the fundamental of the the beast. But what I was saying was, it's not that um, we have. I mean, I like what you're doing because it's interesting because you're taking the time to use AI. It's going through all the data, and I'm definitely interested in seeing where this the rest of this your journey goes. Because for me, it's you don't have a lot of when you have a system and a structure that's just like, I mean, when I got into teaching trading because 15 years ago as I was trading, I ran into a lot of traders, and then 5 years went by, and then they were explaining their trading systems, and what I realized was they all trade the same way, right? And it's kind of like ridiculous, right? They try to win 4 out of 10 trades, and they have $1,000 in the bag. Their wins go for 300, and their losses are 100, right? So it's like when they finish, they have 1,200 wins, and their losses are basically 600. So they basically have that difference in that money and says, okay, look, I lost $6,000, but my 4 wins bring in 12,000. So at the end of the week, out of my 10 trades, I'm up 6,000. And I was just like, in my head, I was like, man, you lost 6 out of 10. Like that it made no sense to me. So when I started, trading, my goal, man, was to win, 7 to 8%, 8 out of 10 of my trades. So that's all I worked on.
Yep.
That's all I knew. So when I realized that what these guys were doing, I said to them, I said, hey man, listen, if I can eliminate 50% of your losses, would that help you? Right? And they're like, yeah.
Right.
So theoretically, that's $3,000 every 10 trades, right? Because they're losing 6 out of 10. I'm like, they're doing at least 20 trades a month minimum, so that's 6,000 a month. I said, no, you're losing over $60,000 a year, and they're like, yeah.
Yep.
I said, I tell you what, give me 20,000, I'll eliminate half of those losses. And I developed a system to help them lose less, which was just what they needed was lose half of what you're, get rid of 50% of your losses. And that's how I made a nice career. And then as I went on, I wasn't even teaching them how to win. I was just teaching them how to stop losing. So as time went on, I was developing my own trading systems, my own styles. And then I studied everything, gamma rays, everything, the fans, the Elliott waves, the support resistance, the block order, like there's so much shit. And, at the end of it, I was like, this is all the same shit. And then I ran into a bunch of market makers, and they were like, hey man, you trade in such a strange way, right? And we ended up being friends. And then I was like, they'd be like, you want to see something cool, right? And they're like, check this out. And they would literally develop a bull flag, a bull pennant, and then they would dump it on everyone and say, yeah, we just got all these. Now watch this, right? It was like a game. And then I realized, I was like, oh, it is a game. This is just a big game. Now, the thing about stocks is the game is played with information, right? News, profit and loss, the quarterly, stats. And that's how they move the charts, because they get the information first and then they manipulate the moves, right? So it's almost like, and it's not really that hard to do it. All they have to do is get the sales reports or watch the company's reports every day, which is on MSNBC. You can pull it up every day yourself. And you trade as they start to build momentum, you start trading even harder. So you double down on the trade and you start pushing that stock. And then the moment that you're getting to the numbers release, you start dumping. Because you've already traded, you already know the number. You've been watching, you've been counting every day. So when the report comes out and everyone's like, "Oh my God, we're up 30%," and then the stock goes, what happened? Well, the guys who were actually doing the homework knew that they were up 30% every day, while you're waiting for the fucking 3-month report. You don't deserve to make, and the way they feel is you don't deserve to make this money because we're watching the reports fucking hourly, and you're just sitting around for some fucking guy to tell you some shit on MSNBC. So that's why they do it. They think it's funny because people don't earn the right to get the information. Because if you really wanted to be rich, you'd be working harder, and that's kind of how market makers move. So the thing about crypto is there is no news. There is no, like, when you get a little. That's why the news is kind of like Elon Musk's dog took a shit by shitcoin today, and it's there's no news. There's nothing. The only coin that actually has news or operates like a stock is XRP. Because of Ripple. Because Ripple is a company. Ripple is going to an IPO. Ripple does contracts. Ripple has a CEO. Ripple has a board, right? That's kind of like the equivalent to a real company, right? So everything else is just basic. There is no product. There's no new product coming out. Solana's not. Solana's another thing that's close to kind of being like Ripple because they're building infrastructure. But I mean, Doge is just a coin. XRP, that's why I sometimes I don't like trading XRP. Actually, I don't really trade. I'm only trading it right now because XRP is just coming to a point where, it's going to see the friction. It's going to be the leader of the last of the jump, which is, coming up in the end of April. But it's like looking at, I mean, to be honest, I only really trade XRPs because the XRP army is so interested in it that it gets more people actually learning shit. But if you're trading any coin, at the end of the day, they all have there's no value to them, right? The only value is someone bought it cheap and then someone's going to sell it for profit.
Right. Well, it's the same. That's the same with Bitcoin. That's the same with
all of them.
My iPod has value to it, even though it's dead. It's got a nostalgia factor to it.
Yeah, it's a crazy scenario that, to me it's like, you take the biggest coin, like I said, Bitcoin. What is its purpose? I mean, even today with the coin's technology, security, and all that shit, no one's using it. No one's developing anything for it, right? The most thing that they do is try to get it to move across your wallet faster, just because the coin XRP actually moves fast. So they're trying to keep up with their competition. But what does it do, right? The value in it is kind of like, we know what it's good for on the black market. We know what it's good for in running all that other stuff. But for people and for us as normal people, there's no value, and it's the biggest coin in our market, right? The only value is people believe that one day the technology will be valuable, which they're right, and there's no day or time where that'll actually be reality. And people don't realize that it takes 10 to 15 years to build that. So right now you're trading so early, you don't even realize that you're basically an angel investor in technology that still needs 10 years to develop. But what makes that awesome is that it makes trading crypto so much easier because I know that when it pumps, it has to dump because the only value was the buy low. The only value is a pump. And people have to take profits because this is a game of 30 to 40% gains. And that's all that matters. The only thing the market makers want to see is a 20 to 30% move so they can dump and reset the market and find a fair value that people want to pay again and then create patterns and bull pennants and all that shit to get people emotionally invested. And then once the retail investors say they're FOMOing in, they dump even harder. And then once they beat them up, then they bring it down and say, look, it's cheaper, go ahead. And then they keep going lower until you say, all right, it's got to go up from here. And then they start moving it. And if you're not buying, then they shoot it up. You're like, I knew I should have bought. Then you jump in and they're like, yeah, let's run. And they start running. And then you're like, I'm going to hold. And then they dump on you again and say, you should have sold. And they just play with the emotions of the market. That's why I love crypto, because it's emotional. It's an emotional battle. And it's so funny to watch, right? Like once you realize that what game is being played, and you start playing inside the parameters, and you find that safety zone, you can't get hurt.
Yeah.
It's the other people that are getting killed. So that's really what it comes down to, is learning to remove emotions, right? So what I teach is a systematic trading style, right? Removing emotions. It's the mindset of a trader. So Trading 102 course is a course I developed because after realizing that 90% of people who are in trading will take a course or find something that works and then try it, and the moment it doesn't work, try something else, and the moment that doesn't work, try something else, and they never developed a strategy of a trade. They never develop an entry strategy, and they sure as hell don't understand what the system is, right? And that's where they lose. What's my bag? How much do I invest? What's my leverage, right? What's my goal? You know, the weirdest thing to me is that if we were going to do anything in this world that had anything that at all to do, the very first thing we do is we'd have a goal, right? No matter what you do, you have a goal, right? Whether it's to get up and be like, fuck, I gotta mow the lawn. I need to be done by noon, right? You always have some type of setup, no matter what. The weirdest thing to me is when people trade in crypto, they don't even fucking know what their target is. They don't even know how much they want to make a week, a day, an hour, a year. They're just buying some shit because they think it's going up. And that's why they fail. They don't have a system. So that's why when people are up 30, 40, 50, 100%, 1,000%, they don't sell. Because they didn't even have a fucking plan to sell. So why would you? See, that's why I teach a systematic trading system, so that you remove emotions, play the game, play the percentages, play the law of average, find the winning component, play that component, learn how to execute that system, execute that strategy at its highest level, and then live with the results because you know the results. So when you lose, you're like, oh, that's a loss, and you go back, and then and at the end you're like, all right, out of my 10 trades, I won 7, and you got the money that you were expecting to get because you knew what size bag, you knew what leverage, you knew what was going to happen. So you're not emotional, you're playing a systematic game, and that's what I teach, and no one else does that shit. Everyone's teaching all this other bullshit, candles, patterns. Look at this. None of that shit matters.
Yeah, I'm not interested in those things.
They don't matter.
If there's anything I've learned over the last year, it's my behavior, and just it's been an expensive lesson, but it's my crypto tuition, and I could give up now and go move on to the next thing in life. But people do that with their college degrees and don't even put their degree to use if they have one. It's like, yeah, it sounds silly to say that I spent X amount of money learning about crypto, but I'm actually okay with that because
you come to terms with it. You know what you're doing.
I've come to terms with it, and I believe I've developed this strategy that I told you, and I'm going to implement it. And I like to say that pretty much everywhere in my life, I've been a pioneer in learning how to do something. You could spend tens of thousands of dollars to go to a university to get a business degree. That's great. You're going to refine a lot of information or learn a lot of refined information that's been passed down the years. But go back in time, who was the first businessman? Did he go to school for it? No.
We're all pioneers.
No, he didn't. They're all pioneers, right?
You go back 30 years, all the CEOs didn't even graduate college.
No. But no, other than having to pay bills and stuff coming up, I'll be fine. But
Yeah.
yeah,
I mean,
I don't have a lot of
like what you were
gunpowder
doing.
right now, but yeah,
Yeah. So I mean, what I want you to do is, I mean, don't be a stranger. You know,
no,
go get your data. Do that.
yep.
These are stories that need to be told because
Hmm.
everyone's doing the same shit. You're not alone. You're not the only person going. I'm going to ask AI when should I buy XRP, right? I mean, this is not.
I no, I
It's
would
a
not
strategy.
do that. I believe that
Oh, I know,
the
I know, I'm not. I'm not.
technology
Yeah,
is
I'm not talking like
empowered.
that. I'm talking about like
They're trying to
using
dissuade
it.
you.
Yeah, I'm talking about using it like, to find a way to
Oh,
break the code. You know what I'm saying?
yeah, to break the code and help me to understand. I've even found myself stuck, like trying to explain myself to it, uh, which has been kind of fascinating.
Yes.
So like, how to it's like, what am I actually going after? Am I just word vomiting until something makes sense? So
Yeah. No, no. This is what I'm talking about, right? So what I want to do is like, it's a. This is a. This right here is what needs to be like taught, and what this
hmm
needs to be, shared, right? So that's why something like this I would go live with and just walk through this as we develop this because everyone's doing the same shit. You're not the only person
right,
that's coming up with trying to solve this. That's the thing about people, right? And I learned this, it doesn't matter. You can't break human behavior, right? And that's why I created Trading 102. It's because I realized that it doesn't matter if I give someone a winning fucking strategy 3 different ways and explain it 14 different ways and then show them for 3 years. They're still going to go find other strategies and they're still going to fuck it up.
yeah,
So
yep,
I just basically said, you know what, you can't beat human behavior. So what I want to do now is I'm just going to teach such a fundamentally easy conformational strategy that whatever the fuck you're doing, will break it all down, show you how to break it down better, and then show you how to actually fucking execute it. That's Trading 102.
sure,
Right? I don't care what trade how you came with your strategy, right? Number one strategy, find your trade. Number two, create a fucking entry. And then number three is your system, right? I don't care
hmm
what strategy you have for your trade. I don't care. I'm just there to look at it and go, okay, well, what about this? And then see how you walk through entries, see how you build that out. And what I do in my course is I just teach you how to solve it faster, you know?
got it.
That way it makes sense in your brain.
Hmm.
And if it makes sense to you, then you'll be confident. And if you're confident, then you'll fucking make better trades.
Yep.
That's the entire system. That's what Trading 102 is letting you develop as far as you can develop and develop the way that you develop. And then just giving you the tidbits that you need to just turn that corner. And then at the end of it all, it was you piecing it all together so that now it's your vision. And what I'm finding is that is what gets people to the next level because they're confident in it because they fucking built it.
Right. That's where, yeah.
You see what I'm saying?
It's like, yeah, one of these groups I'm in, this guy, he built his indicator, and
Mm-hmm.
I see him always using it, and he's confident in it.
Mm-hmm.
It helps him win. So that's like, what's really better than that? Like, nobody knows the back of your hand like you do.
Mm-hmm. I mean, it's the problem with the reason why people don't win is simply they overthink, and then they don't know
Yeah.
how to collect data. Right? I mean, we haven't even really got into like
Right.
four of other shit that's important, but this type of conversation is where we do something like we hop on live and we sit here and we just go through shit because you'd be amazed how many people on live are like, oh man, this is what I did, or oh, that's pretty smart, right? And then you realize everyone's doing the same shit. There's a bunch of people out there on X going, oh man, what was that? What's the moving average? Well, I mean, the concepts are just flowing through their head right now. It's pretty crazy. But what I liked about it was the moment that you realize, like, I found myself trying to explain myself to myself, so it understood me.
Yep.
Like I'm trying to get it to understand what I'm trying to say, and that right there is that disconnect, and that's where sitting there going, well, you know what? Think about this, right? And then that's the progress, and that's where I've been there a million times already. Just say, oh, you know what? Think about this, and they're like, oh, okay. Oh yeah, and then all of a sudden you're like, clicks for you, and it's like that's what 102 is about, is getting you to understand trade development, which is where you're starting now. Now it's like how to make this actually like a real good trade. Then it's entry development. Now you're eliminating even more risk. You're cutting risk, down to 20 to 30%. Like that's massive, because what that's going to do is that's going to allow you to increase gains. Right? That's a difference of 9, 12, and 15% versus 30, 40, and 60. It's massive.
Right.
It's a game changer. But that's where, that's why I like the 102 course, because it's based on the person. It's based on how they see it. So now I'm just taking, what they're doing, showing them how to develop, showing them how to, develop the trade, develop the entry, and then it's just rinse and repeat. So then when they stumble across something else or they solve a riddle, then they re-enter the steps in the process that, teach them how to solve the riddle. And the next thing you know, they're just chopping through theories. Bow, 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 bow. Until they stumble on the theory that works. And who knows? I mean, you never know who it's going to be who breaks that fucking code even more. I mean, that's what I'm interested in. I love this. I'm excited and back at this because this allows me to, get into the brain of people who are thinking completely out the fucking box. They might stumble across something that they don't even realize is important. But with my knowledge, I'll be like, oh shit, that's that piece. Like, it might be just a thought in their head, but they might solve a riddle that something else can't be, it might move to another part. So it's very interesting.
Right. Well, hey.
But yeah, good chat, brother.
I'm gonna tap out. What was your name?
No, they just call me VC, bro.
VC. I'm John.
Good to meet you, John, man. Yeah. So, I mean, get in there. I mean, I don't know if you said if you're doing, where are you making any trades, or what are you doing?
Yeah, I'm in this. I'm in a not great. Well, it's not terrible, but it's not great. I stretched myself too thin. Now I've got a trade going in 3 different exchanges, and I'm just kind of like, why did I do that?
The same trade? I gotta
keep my eye over it. Essentially, yeah.
Okay.
But I'll be fine. So yeah, I have a short on XRP and short on Bitcoin. Not as high as I would like them, but hopefully we go down a ways so I can get out.
It's gonna be tough, but you got a little bit, because I mean, in the next 4 weeks we're gonna have a big push. Did you get your BitNex? Because I know you're in here, so a lot of times when people join, we're always like, get your BitNex account. Did you get your BitNex account set up?
Yeah.
Okay.
It's actually linked to someone else, and it has been for like a year, and I don't know if I should take that off. But
are you getting like cash back? Do you get like rewards every day?
Yeah.
Yeah, because
no, because I'm only tier 1. I was tier 2, and then 1010 happened, and then I lost all that. So now I only get fee vouchers every day.
What is the, because we do, the reason why we have our VIP is a couple of different reasons, right? Because we trade over about 300 million a month. So we have a lot of we have our own like VIP specialist. So if something happens, we're pretty much taken care of. And then we get rewards, right? So you'll see people getting like $1,200, $500, $300, right? So we get a lot.
Right, but what's your account worth if you're getting that?
I mean, some guys, $200. I mean, I think,
Oh,
yeah. I mean, they don't go by that. They go, you're part of the group. That's why we all have the. That's why we use the VIP code, right? Because it's by the masses,
got it.
right? They don't look at you and go, oh, you only trade $100. It doesn't matter
Right.
if.
Yeah,
Yeah.
maybe we'll maybe I'll do that. The guy that he was posting his trades like just in the Discord, and then now all of a sudden he moved over to copy trading, and immediately I didn't really like that idea, but I'm giving it a shot, and if it fails me, then maybe I'll just move over. And I mean, I've learned everything I need to know in the last year. I feel like to not, well, he's been trading like over 5 years at least, and knows a lot more than me and how to read markets. And yeah, maybe in the near future I'll switch over my referral link. Or do I even need to do that?
So if you
Yeah.
you have to, if you sign up with them and you're not connected to somebody's account like you are, then they can just upgrade
Right.
you, right? But if I sent it over to them, they would send back and say, now he's already in this section, right? So I know they'll return it back to me. So yeah, just basically we have the little section in the Discord that says signing up with the referral side or whatever it is.
Okay,
And
so
pick
it is
that.
a link, a referral link.
Yeah, there's a link in there. And
Okay.
that way when we
Yeah.
send it over, they see you on there. And then that way they
Right.
know that those are the people on that link that are getting rewarded. So that's who they
Okay.
send out to. And
Well, good to know.
yeah. And then with that, we also, we have a lot of things inside the Discord that we do. And then there's where, when you're doing the community side, because it's kind of like a big community thing, then that allows us to like, we have our moon indicator. Once you have a BitNext account with our shit, you get that moon indicator. And then we spend more time like developing stuff with everybody. Because that's just, it's donating to the community side. So when
Right.
people, we
Right.
have guys that don't have a lot of money, and then all of a sudden they're like, "Man, I got $300 today," right? So it's like it allows it allows us to kind of like ask for things. So we have guys right here like that are trading 30, 40, $50, and then we put them into the VIP side and say, "Hey man, I got these 12 user ID numbers, little guys, can you give them $200-300?" Right, and they'll come back and then they'll be like, "Yeah, man, we'll let them know, we'll send it over." And then they'll start picking those guys out, and then all of a sudden they're getting $300-400, which is life changing because it's like you're out there doing all your stuff, and
Yeah.
you only got a couple bucks to get in, and it's like, oh, now you can relax, get some of the emotions out of it because it's not it's not lunch money, and you can start trading better. So that's the goal for
Man,
us is just to be massive.
I wasn't watching your screen this whole time. Are you DCAing, or is that trade that you have open? Did you just open that?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I just bought the double bottom. So like the 1, 2, 3.
Nice.
Yeah. So I'm snagging that real quick because I'm seeing where, if you look at the 4 hour, it's far from getting a moon, and then
Right.
I can see that the RSI is already kind of like. See here on the 15-minute, you see it bending up right here. Plus we hit the support right here. So then if I go to my 4 hour, because I was looking at the strength of the money, right? So I can see the 4 hour here is coming down. Hasn't crossed it yet, but the one thing that I'm looking at is, okay, so this is what I'm talking about. You see, this is the moon indicator, right? So right here, this would be a problem if that goes into a blue moon. But the thing about that is, even if it hits a blue moon, we're still going to have a push up before it breaks down.
I see.
But it's such a gap in between there that let's say if I go to the 2 hour, see how I have the blue moon there? So the 2 hour is already hit, but I didn't see, like that was the tumble that we just took. And now I'm looking at the 3 hour and I'm seeing if we can, survive this 3 hour like push down. And this is where I would go closer to the 10-minute to see what it's doing, right? So here I'm looking at the 10-minute. I'm checking the money, and as long as it, this is where we're talking about those lower levels. So you see how it's bending here? So it's starting to show a little bit of life here. So I want to see what this And this way, when you look at the stochastic, the RSI is just on the bottom here. So it had a long situation where it just was exhausted, right? But that's where the money was just basically going through. So I want to see here what this bounce does, because that's going to determine where we're going to be sitting here. That's kind of what I'm just looking at here, because I'm just watching this. So you see how it's hitting this double top here? All right, so this for me is like a quick trade, you know, and then I want to see where this kind of like goes. I mean, you know, it's a quick 150 bucks, but this trade is probably going to come 4 or 5 times before it breaks out. So it's a very interesting. That's what I'm saying. Like I'm not too concerned about the big move, right? It's kind of like getting into the
nice.
Yeah, getting into like just, you know, like teaching people that, hey man, if you're I mean, if you do this trade, if I'm sitting here just trading all day, I could probably do this $100, $150 trade 10, 20 times in a day. So,
wow.
Yeah. I mean, it's just kind of like, it allows you to really like build into that. So that's kind of what I'm looking at now here. But I'm expecting, because we have such, and you always want to.
Wait, I thought you just.
I closed another one, so now I'm closing this next one. And what I'm looking for here is, you know, because we are at a bottom, but I still have the, you know, the 3-hour moon coming. So more than likely this is going to continue down. But we're fighting through this chop here. So you can see on the main chart we have, should be sitting on a little level here. Let me pull this down here. So it's in a channel, but it's bouncing off its support channel here. But the problem is we're exhausted on the 4-hour, and the real problem is we're exhausted on the daily. So I sent out a text.
You mean exhausted as in there's nowhere up to go?
Yeah. Well, you know, at this point, normally when you see how this stochastic RSI is at the top.
Yeah. So it's coming down.
Yeah, at that point, I mean, there's only so much money. But that's on the daily. This isn't a 4-hour.
Right, and that's on the daily, and who's going to buy anything?
Right, there's no whales.
Much more, right?
Yeah, no whales buying the daily. So the good news is the weekly is on its way up. It's about to break the 20. So at the next week it'll break the 20, which will put us about the 24th or something like that. So about 30 days out. And then the next time it pushes up. So as soon as that gets to that 50, 60 line, we're going to see a big rip in the market about April 26th or April 20th. But yeah, right now we're just, if we hold steady here, which kind of what's happening is, the 4 hours heading down. So, you know, there's just so many there's so many limit orders here that, you know, people get FOMO'd in. It's going to be very hard for the, you know, to see this, you know, downside. And that's what I'm watching to see, you know, how much of this they actually sell off. Because there's going to be an entry at 145, 146 for the bounce. So. Now I'm just watching it play out. So I'm just waiting for the money to kind of like rotate. For me, I won't trade against the 1 hour, but you can see it's bottom now. So once the 1 hour turns up, that'll give me an ideal that I can get into a trade. Now if I implement what we just went over, which was this new trade that we developed, then the system is basically this, right? So the system is a 4 hour, right? You see how it's heading down? So I can't make a trade until that 4 hour RSI bends up.
Right.
And that would basically trigger a trade that I can get into, and that would be the 4 hour up above the 50, right? Now, the other part of that is we entered a section where we use a safety zone, which is that we won't trade that trade if the 4 hour RSI on the stochastic is heading down. So once both those head up, then I would be getting into a long. That's what I'm saying. It's all trade development, right? So now what we do is we track that trade 100 times, get the results, and then we'll know where we're at. But so far, the thing's been averaging, it's a 4 to 8% trade, and we do 70x leverage. So we're
cool.
Yeah, we're doing about 240%. That's what you're seeing a lot of the guys posting is we're
Right.
posting all this. This is all the new trade development. So it's just
Yeah, Ted's always posting his stuff.
yeah, yeah. He does well. He does well. So it's like, so now we're just testing it out, and then once we have all that out in the next 3-4 weeks, then we'll close out that trade with a complete strategy for the entry, or complete strategy of the trade, complete strategy for the entry, and then the system really comes down to the individual, right?
Right.
How much you're trying to make a week, how much you're doing this and that. So yeah, that's kind of like self-built around the person. How much you want to make a year, most people want to make about $2,000 a week. So,
Yeah, that'd be nice.
who's Kitty? Let me see. Accept. Kitty.
Well, hey, I'm gonna let you go,
Yeah, hop on. Say your name again.
John.
John. So yeah, John. What's that? Hold on, Kitty. Yeah. So yeah, get the data in there, and then come back in, and let's sit down where we're take an hour here and there, and just kind of like cover where you're at. And yeah, I think it's a great.
All right.
I like it because it's like what you're doing, and then I like the fact that it's AI entered as well. It's always cool to kind of like, and everyone else is out there doing it, so they fucking love to hear that shit. All right, John, man. I'll talk to you later, brother.
Thank you. Bye.